Hey guys, welcome back to a brand new video. And today we have a long-awaited video about the comparison between the Okay, I'm gonna need to actually take a sponge and clean that up. Ugh, it's not nice. Yeah, a long-awaited video between the very oiled up right now Baliplus Tsunami V4s. Now, one thing I need to mention is these blades will rust, right? These are these are high carbon blades, and so you got to take care of them a little bit more. So I will have to definitely be doing that as soon as I finish recording these videos, because they've been sitting, for weeks now without being oiled or anything. I forgot to oil them before I left. But anyways, yeah, here's a comparison between the polished version, which I have done the liberty of fitting on aftermarket purple screws onto, which, oh my goodness, I'm gonna be honest with you, this fights, and also I've swapped it onto stainless steel. This fights for my favorite Balisong, against my Seraph. It's kind of insane. The Seraph, again, it's a little bit undefeated. It's a bit more of a champion. It just sounds good. The tolerances are good. Everything's just perfect. Whereas this, I had to make work to make it into my favorite. So, there's a little bit more work done into that. But I love the screw color with the polished. But we're also talking about the Sandblast here, which I reverted onto stock hardware. Weirdly though, this is bouncier. This is bouncier than this. Just one, throw it on the floor. Two, just take a look at this, right? Versus, okay, maybe I was waffling, but I mean, it feels more like when you do this. Versus on this one, yeah, this is where it's going to be different. It's just more bouncy on this one. But anyways, yeah, we're going to be going over the differences of these guys and telling you which one is for you. When they do eventually come back in stock, there will be a link in the lower description. An AliExpress link, which is an affiliate link. Please feel free to use that. It costs you no extra, but it does help support the channel a little bit, and kick back a little bit as an extra way of supporting me. Or you can obviously also find these on BBKS or Colorsong. I'll also mention those down in the comments below, in the pinned comment. When it comes to the handle gap, now you can actually see there are slight differences in the handle gap, and that's probably just due to differences in the pin size milling. Let's see. And I think this is just going to be the case between Tsunamis in general. I mean, it's just part of QC, right? Do I prefer the bigger handle gap or the smaller handle gap? I mean, it's pretty negligible, to be honest. Okay, maybe on this it does look a little bit thin. But overall, that's not one of the differences, I would say. The main difference is, of course, in the texture. Now, when you buy yours, it's going to come with these same very bright blue, almost teal-like hardware. Now, in comparison against the Armed Shark hardware, you can see it is a much brighter blue with a little bit of purple inside. I mean, that seems to be a common thing with these heat anodized stainless steel screws. You can really crank down on these, by the way. This is really, really good hardware from Baliplus. I must say, this is probably their best hardware I've ever experienced from their T10 kind of stuff. It is, yeah, easily the best kind of hardware that I've seen them put out, which is a huge, huge deal for Baliplus. Now, the actual differences, honestly, other than that one is sandblasted and one is polished, aren't that different. So if you look here closely, you can see the milling lines on both are a little bit more pronounced on the sandblasted version. Dimensionally, they should be exactly the same. Maybe the polish will be a couple microns thinner, just because that's how polishing works. But otherwise, yeah. I mean, you can see the jimping is in the exact same locations. I actually think my sandblasted one is probably slightly better made than the polished one. And so that's kind of depressing, but also, I'm not too bothered about it. You can see dimensionally they are the same there. But yeah, other than the texture is a little bit more on here. And I'd say everything is ever so slightly sharper. These, I'm not saying it's sharp. This is still very much comfortable, but it's just a different level on the polish, right? I think those of you who've handled polished and non-polished Balisongs before, you'll know what I mean. And here, this edge is definitely not sharp by any means, but it feels almost rounded here. and that's just the nature of the polish. The grip difference. Now, polished balisongs have a tendency to have like a slightly... Is it snowing? No. Okay. I just saw some white fly down from the sky. And I was like, what? But yeah, slightly polished balisongs have a tendency to be like slightly sticky in like how they feel in the hand, which I think is like really weird. But you know, that is just how they are. And so I'm actually quite a fan of like the polish feel, but it does mean when it is wet, they are, of course, significantly more slippery. Like when your hands are wet or super sweaty. Dude, this thing is so nice. In comparison to this guy here, though, I would say when your hands are bone dry, this might actually be a little less grippy. But like negligibly so, to be honest. No, I'm convinced this one is bouncier. It's got slightly bigger zen pins, most likely, that fit really tightly, actually, because I wasn't able to pull any of the zen pins out. But also, you do get this Sandblast blade, which is a much more practical finish. If you're looking to use your balisong as an actual knife, the Sandblast finish is definitely what's going to hold up against the test of time. It's going to be a bit more corrosion resistant, and like the polish. And overall, I mean, it's got this really nice engraving here with the Screen Industries. Obviously, I don't support that it's a clone thing, but I think it looks better than just writing Baliplus. You know, nothing on the back. The jewelling inside, again, is the same on both of these guys. You know, I'd say maybe the jewelling pops a little more on the polished, but I think that's just because there's just generally more light play on the polished, whereas there isn't very much here, other than the jewelling, actually. So maybe the jewelling kind of stands out a bit more on the Sandblast. On the blades, though, you can see the spine here is like lightly polished, whereas here it is Sandblast, and same thing with the tang of the blade. This suits the handles a bit more. Obviously, it just matches the handles. Otherwise, there isn't like a ton of difference in these guys. In terms of how they flip, literally other than the feel in the hand of this one being a little bit more performant, and this one having that polished feel, which personally I'm definitely enjoying. They flip basically exactly the same. It's literally just the feel in the hand that's different. So don't worry about any balance changes between the two. If that's what you're curious about, links to buy these when they are back in stock will be in the description below, in the comments below, sorry. I believe I already said that in the beginning of the video, but just to make sure, to reiterate, which is the fancy word to say that. Yeah, and actually, funnily enough, I know I have purple screws on this guy, but it was seeing a video of the release of this thing, of the Baliplus Tsunami in general, V4. The release of this had a Sandblast version with purple screws, and that's what convinced me to get purple screws in general, because I was like, dude, I was normally going to get the polished with these blue screws, but seeing the Sandblast with purple screws made me want a Sandblast with purple screws. And so I decided, why not just get the Sandblast and get a set of purple screws, and see what they look like on the polished and the Sandblast. And honestly, I am so glad I did that because, dude, this looks fantastic. This looks still amazing. I absolutely am in love with it, but it does look a little better with the purple screws in my opinion. There are also teal options, and these are titanium hardware, so these will strip a bit easier, which makes me like, whenever I tune it, I actually take out this hardware, I put it stainless steel hardware inside, just because it's like, that way I can play around with that, not worry about it stripping, and then when I'm done, I put stuff back inside. I may play around with the zen pins here, see if the pins here fit in there. See if I can get a slightly bigger handle gap, at least in the open position, because I don't know, this just seems like really, really skinny to me now. Like, when looking at this seems a bit more in proportion. But, yeah, overall, I'm a really big fan of both of these balisongs. I personally prefer this, as opposed to this. But that's just me liking the light play. That's the one big thing I love. In the sun, you know, it's not a sunny day today, but, you know, when it is a sunny day, I absolutely love how the polish just bounces the light off. That's one thing that the dueling actually does here quite well. You do notice it in the sun when flipping. That's one thing I personally really love. That's the biggest reason I like the dueling. Just because, one, it makes obviously the balisong look a lot more premium, and two, it just encourages tons and tons of light play with the sun. So yeah, I hope this was a good video to kind of explain to you Sandblast versus Polished. What's the best option for the Baliplus Tsunami for you? If you want a more performing flipper, you don't care too much about aesthetics, I definitely suggest get the Sandblast version, especially as it will probably be slightly less popular, simply due to it being, probably one that people would say isn't as good looking, although I argue it looks a bit more rugged, a bit more like grr, a bit more macho, a bit more butch, sorry, I think is the word I'm looking for, not bush. Which I would say is also quite an attractive thing in a balisong when it comes to like just the aesthetics. They both sound great, especially when tuned up. They both come with decent tunes. But yeah, overall, I really do recommend these guys. Obviously, this is probably, I said it's fighting for my favorite balisong. So that is a huge deal for me because not much competes against the Serif. But yeah, thank you guys so much for watching. Excuse me. I'll catch you guys in the next one. Yeah. Leave a like, leave a comment, leave a subscribe. I'll see you guys, in the next one. Peace.